I was born and I grew up in Rome. Obviously, growing in a city like Rome exposes you to architectural art and beauty in general from the start. I was also raised in an artistic family. Most of my family is in the movie industry. So let's say that I was introduced to the world of art, architecture, and design from a very early age. I guess the influence of my parents was very, very strong on me. I remember moving furniture around very, very often with my mom, going to flea markets with my mom, auction houses, and movie sets. So, and then again, my environment, Rome, that when you go out in the street, you look up and you kind of discover something beautiful almost every day. So definitely my environment has had a huge impact on the person I am today professionally, personally as well, but professionally, I think has had a very, very big impact. Coming to the States has been the other half of my life. So I came to the States because I got into RISD. At the time, I had no idea where Providence, Rhode Island was. I didn't know what RISD was. I was just told by one of my professors I went to an international high school in Rome. He said, you got in one of the best schools in the US. You have to go. And he convinced me and my mom, and off I went.
So I have a follow-up question to that. I have a dear friend who was a set designer for the movies.
Yeah.
And after making some pretty important films, she decided she wanted to be an architect. So she took the Harvard Graduate School of Design survey course. And then she was living in New York, so she went to the Columbia School of Architecture. So how does experiencing movie sets and how they're constructed and such a different demand for something that's not permanent, how does that influence your vision and vice versa? And did you ever think about getting involved with the movies as from that perspective?
It's very funny you ask this question, because the reason why I went to architecture school was initially to get into stage set design. In the back of my head, still today, it's something that I think I would have liked to do, and I would still like to do in a parallel life. But it's one of those things that that got me into design and architecture and interior design, stage set design. As you mentioned, stage set design, something that's not permanent. But if you think of design in general, architecture, design, yes, the beauty is that they should be permanent, but a lot of the times they're not. A lot of the times we design on things that never happen or never get built, or your dream space. I'll make it quick, but 2 years ago, I went and volunteered in a school in Tanzania with kids, and I was actually teaching introduction to architecture, and I made them design their dream home, which will never probably get built, unfortunately. But I think one of the most beautiful things in our field is that you can imagine anything you want. Do you build it at the end? Maybe not, but does it really matter? So that's stage set design for me, and design in general.
I was born and raised in Torino, which is in the northwest part of Italy, and is a city that has been actually the first capital of Italy when it was united and under the royal family Savoia. So at the time we had the king and the queen, and so the city is full of many beautiful architecture. So castle, palaces, and is a city that is also not as, it doesn't have 7 hills like Rome, but has, beautiful mountains and one beautiful hill. So like it's always been full immersion in this city full of these beautiful squares and all the arch, what we call the porticato, all the large streets with the arches, and so that for me has always been amazing to look around. And additionally, my dad was a geometer, which is a profession that there is not such a thing in US. It's like an undergraduate school architect, so it was actually designing and building houses. And I remember one of my favorite thing was to go with him on the job site and see what he was building, and then he would take me to his office where we still have the drafting table, and he would show me the drawings. And I love seeing something on the drawing table than seeing built in reality. And for me it was such a magic thing. So I decided that I wanted to do the same. I wanted to be able to imagine something and then seeing built, even if like Diamante said, not everything gets built of what you imagine and design. I think my inspiration has always been the idea of leaving a sign of, in the world of something that you have imagined, and that can communicate your sense of your vision, your sense of who you are, what the world is, your connection to the rest of the world. So I guess, since maybe my 7th, 8th grade, I have decided I wanted to be an architect, and so I pursue it, and that's the only thing I always wanted to be.
So I should tell you, I don't remember if I communicated this or not, but I've had a lifelong career as an artist. And so I painted abstractly until 1989 when my son was born. And I decided to do these large scale portraits of my wife pregnant. And one thing led to another. And ever since 1989, I've been making large scale portraits like the one over my shoulder.
Wow.
As a layperson, and Katie, maybe you can ask this question a better way, but from my perspective, I've always thought of Italy's renowned for its design. It has a superior sense of design. So how does that, at least that's my lay impression, and I don't know how that has changed when you get to this century, if it's still as wildly different in terms of sophistication as it was when you were growing up. But what was it like to go from that kind of world of design sophistication and come to the United States, where 1 minute you're next to a McDonald's, and I mean, there's so many different levels of
if I can answer to that, I want to tell you that the first time I came to US, which like I said, I was just graduated, so I was in my 20s. I was surprised. I said, oh, but this is, I remember, don't get offended, but I remember saying, this is so primitive. That was the expression that I had, because, I had actually landed in New Jersey. So my first perception of US was like New Jersey, countryside. And so I think that for me, I appreciated even more what you said about the Italian tradition of being an artistic country. After I've been in US, I see the difference after being here. But at the same time, I have to say that the more I live here, the more I appreciate some other aspect of how art is developed in US. One of the things that I appreciate the most is the freedom. I think of US as a country that is still in the age of the innocence, where everything is possible. And I perceive all type of artists be feeling more free of express, their ideas, while in Italy, because we are so anchored to the tradition, things seems to be moving a little slower, in many aspects of art, to be able to produce something new. To me, it looks like there is the history sometimes could be like heavy, something heavy that anchor you down.